welcome to the last portion of me putting my makeup on. Listen, I did do an entire makeup video, but I hated it, so I will not be posting. But anyway, you get the very, very end of it. It is my birthday, my birthday. So I wanted to make a video about that. Happy birthday to me. Listen, y'all, for a long time, I thought that the way to go about birthdays is if you didn't have anybody to celebrate them with, just don't celebrate them at all. Okay? Because I thought, I don't know, I just felt like selfish celebrating my birthday by myself. But listen, my mindset has changed. I dropped you. Are you okay? But anyway, that mindset has changed because I work in healthcare and I see people die. And it's really, really sad. Like, so sad. Worst part about my job is that sometimes I do be seeing people die. Wow, that lighting is terrible, but we're not going to talk about it. I'm going to turn this light off. Bam! Much better. I like how I look in the dark because you can't see everything in the dark. But anyway, so I'm putting lotion on the skin before I get the whole skin. But anyway, so the worst part about working in healthcare, besides being hit on all the time, is watching people die. It's literally terrible. I don't know, it's so heartbreaking, and I hate it. And honestly, I really haven't seen that many people die. I work on a med-surg floor, which, you know, we see a lot of, like, trauma patients, and, by the way, a lot of motorcycle wrecks. A lot. Okay, I get it. You know, you want a thrill, like, you like riding a lot of people do. That's awesome. That is awesome. Be safe. Be so safe. Because when I take care of somebody who is just in a motorcycle wreck, which, by the way, one of the patients that died was just in a motorcycle wreck, we just couldn't keep him alive. It was terrible. Anyway, so if you have to drive a motorcycle or want to or whatever, be so safe. Be so safe. I get that, like, people need to share the road. I get that. I get that there's only so much you can do. But I also be seeing people driving motorcycles like jackasses all the time, and it bothers me. I get once again, I get that you're looking for a thrill and everything else, but I've taken care of way too many amputees, way too many people in an X-Fix, which, by the way, very fucking gruesome and gory. X-Fixes, that's like my worst nightmare one day, is that I'm gonna need an X-Fix. Those things are painful as shit. Alright? There's, like, look, we get people in a lot of pain. Don't get me wrong, we do, all the time. And it's sad to see. But there's nobody in pain quite like people in an X-Fix. So, yeah. Those things are terrible. But if you're gonna drive like that, drive safe. But anyway, the point of this, that's why I don't make that many videos, because I have ADHD. But anyway, not wine, it is juice. I'm not cool enough to drink, okay? It never happened. Not to say that I haven't tried it. Very much have tried it. It's not for me. But anyway, if it's for you, that's great. I wish it was for me, because sometimes life be hard as shit. I made myself a cake, by the way. So I see too many people die to take for granted every year that I have, you know. And sometimes life can suck so bad. So, like, I think we need those, like, yearly reminders that we don't suck. And instead of focusing on the fact that I am getting older, 1 year closer to 30. Is this even done? Are you done? Yes, it's done. Okay, but anyway, instead of focusing on that, I want to celebrate the fact that I have lived another year. Because listen, guys, the same time last year, on my birthday last year, y'all don't want to know how bad my mental health was. It was bad. It was so bad. I very much did not want to live another moment, let alone another day. And that's not being me. That's not me being dramatic. Unfortunately, that is very, very true. Mental health is not talked about enough. It's not supported enough. And anybody who comes out saying that they're, you know, and gonna kill themselves, how do I put that in a nice way, right, is often treated like they're crazy or they need some kind of, like, help and things like that. And that deters people from wanting to get help. Because when I was suicidal, the last thing that I wanted was to be locked up in a loony bin. Right, and that's a terrible way to put it. Look, I get that they're very useful tools for some people. I think that it's like mental health is very much like education. There's no cookie cutter way to go about being better. That's why some therapists just aren't for you, right? The first therapist I had, first therapist as an adult, my child therapist, I was molested on my 7th birthday actually, so 20 years later. But anyway, it's not a joke. I laugh when I'm not supposed to laugh. That is a trauma response. But anyway, so I had the worst therapist ever. She would just make me relive it over and over and over and over again because they were trying to prep me for trial. The worst time in my life, on like as a child. Honestly, it was so terrible. It made me feel like I was doing something wrong and like I deserved being treated poor. I don't know. But anyway, we're not gonna get into it. But like, that's just to show like some therapists aren't for everybody. I personally can't stand a therapist that's gonna be like, how does that make you feel? What does this relate to you in your childhood? How do you think it makes me feel? Like shit. In my childhood was trash. Like, let's talk about something that matters. I want to fix me now. You know, like I need to be fixed. I don't want to fucking, I've had 27 years to dwell on that shit. I don't care. Like, let's move on. You know, and some people like that. Like, some people, that's healing and that's awesome. There's no cookie cutter way to be saved. You got to save yourself. And if you can't find like a good crutch to do that with, crutch is a bad word to use for that. If you can't find like help that actually suits you, then it's gonna be way harder. You know, but the therapist that I have now, she's honestly great because she's not like, tell me something from your past. How does that make you feel? No, she just lets me talk about whatever I want. She goes, we'll start whenever you're ready. You know, and she doesn't push me to start. Like, she's happy sitting in silence. She gets paid out of the way, fuck it. You know, like, sometimes we do for a bit, and then I just start talking. And then, whatever I say, she'll be like, hey, this way of thinking, that's a problem. Let's fix that. Let's work on that. Here's some tips. Here's some things you can do. You know? And I love that. One time I was telling her, like, look, I got trauma, y'all, okay? One time I was telling her that my mama was thinking about coming down for Christmas. And I was like, I really don't want her to. Like, listen, I love my mama, but she wasn't a good mama, okay? She wasn't. Since we're already talking about sexual assault, which is so freaking common and really sad. When I was 13, I was raped by a guy that was living with us, and he was 23. And anyway, so he eventually left. I didn't tell anybody because I was fucking scared. Yeah, what? I told my boyfriend, but he didn't believe me. But we were also in middle school, so whatever. But anyway, but other than that, I didn't tell anybody because I was fucking scared. He eventually left along with his dad, who was also living with us. And I remember bawling in the closet for hours. And my sister came in and she asked me why I was crying, and I lied my ass off because I didn't want to know what happened. You know, I didn't want anybody to know. Well, anyway, so especially since like my boyfriend at the time just didn't buy it, like he didn't believe it. So that made me at the time feel like I definitely couldn't tell anybody. Anyway, it didn't matter though, because he came back months later and he told my mom what he did to me. I remember that I was like going to answer the door, but my mom was already there at the door answering the door, and it was him. And I don't know, so I was on one side of the living room, she was at the front door, right? And he was telling her what he did to me, and he said that he was sorry. And then my mom turns around and she looks at me and she goes, you can punch him if you want to, and walks away, leaving me alone with my rapist who just admitted what he did to me. So anyway, that's my mama, y'all. So I definitely did not want her coming for Christmas. That's awful, but I wanted to enjoy my Christmases. I really don't know a nicer way to put that. It's hard to describe. Sometimes you just need your mom. But I don't need my mom, I need a mom. You know what I mean? Like one who's actually gonna act like a mom. So yeah, I love my mom and I wish she were a better person. And a part of me will always love her because she is my mom. But like, we're not that close. And there's 1,000 reasons for that. Okay? But anyway, so I told my therapist, I was like, she said she has a present for me, which is weird because my mom doesn't, she doesn't really give me presents. Like, I don't know what to think. Like, I don't want her coming to Christmas. Like, what am I going to owe her for this? Like, what is she going to ask in return? And my therapist goes, that way of thinking is wrong. She goes, it's not tit for tat. She goes, your family should be doing things for you. And I was like, yeah, but you don't know my mom, you know? And she goes, it doesn't matter. She goes, you could be right about your mom. And if you don't want her coming to Christmas, don't let her come to Christmas. She goes, set those boundaries, you know? And I love that. I love that she's like very like, why are we talking about this? Not even thinking. Like, don't even like, don't let her come to Christmas then. You know, like very matter of fact, like, why are you even entertaining the thought? Right? Because I need that. I need that tough love. And some people don't like that in therapy, and that's more than okay. Right? Everybody's different. But I need that tough, like, girl, what you doing? You know? And I needed her to say, like, hey, that way of thinking, that distrust, that immediate distrust for anybody doing something nice for you is wrong. Because then in my life, like, I don't ask people for help. I don't. Because I don't want to owe anybody. I don't accept help when they offer it. I don't want to owe anybody. And she's like, that needs to be fixed. That needs to be changed. And I'm working on it. I am, you know. But I don't even know where we're going with that. But anyway, I guess I'll end this now. This is what ADHD looks like, y'all, okay? Because listen, I don't know where I was going with that. And now the thought is completely out of my mind. I'll probably like 2 days from now, I'll be like, oh, that's where I was going. Or I might never think about it again. Because I'll have 1,000 other things that I'll be thinking about.